hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Emotional Response. This is Life Coaching with Ink Ivory. How are you doing today? Hello, hello, hello. As I stated before, I covered last episode on trauma, and I felt like it was a very heavy topic that there was strong chances that I would roll in to making a part two, for the mere fact that it's a heavy topic and a lot of people are going through it. A lot of people are not knowing how to deal with it or even realizing that they are going through it. You know, you go through experiences and you step out with responses and behaviors that you didn't have before the experience. Chances are you've been traumatized to one degree or another. And with that in mind, when you don't treat the new responses and the behaviors, you condition it to be normal life and you label it, oh, this is just normal, this is just how I am. But it wasn't you before the experience. So I'm diving into another part of trauma. This is part two, on the topic of trauma, just because of that. And I feel a lot of times reactions need to be understood first by the person and then second by the surroundings. So you should be able to understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling from an experience and really dive into why you're feeling that way. And then what do you do after you feel that way? If this is something you want to go on with, or if this is something you want to manage and alleviate, possibly remove from your everyday living. For the mere fact, this wasn't you before the experience. You wasn't acting like this before the experience. You wasn't responding that way before the experience. So you want to get back to you. And nothing's wrong with that. Actually, I encourage it. Yes, there is some good that can be pulled out of any situation. And when it comes to bad situations, you can pull out the good. Well, now at least I'm a little more precautious, which is true. But what if you manage it enough to not even be on edge? What if you manage it enough to do that? There's a strong possibility that you can relate to someone else going through a trauma and say, I've been there before and this is how I managed it. And it's okay. Because everybody don't need to be walking around with their issues or emotions from a traumatic experience. You should be able to, like you can manage your room or your office, should take time out to manage your emotions and your mindset, just so you can be effective. Because let me tell you, a neater office is an office that's more at the advantage point of succeeding. Yes, you can still run a successful office and clutter, but what if it was neat? What if your room was neat, or your living room, or things will be in a proper place and you can function better? So that's where the theory comes out of. Not to say that there are exceptions. There are not exceptions, because there are. However, what if you took the time out and managed it? And just like with your emotions, will people be able to function with anxiety? People able to function with stress, stress-filled emotions, which is true. However, if it could be managed, and that person could be even more functional, then why not? Why not take the time out? So I want to dive into the different responses that you might be able to identify with, just to confirm that yes, it was a traumatic experience for you. Because sometimes it's like we'll tuck the abnormal under the normal because that's our only way to cope with everyday living. We don't have anyone to talk to. We don't have anyone to lean on. We don't have a therapist or a life coach to sit down with and a dialogue with. So even though we register certain experiences as abnormal, because we don't have the different coping mechanisms to keep us going, we'll label it under normal. And then what happens is those emotions that come out of the experience will function and condition it as normal as well. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's so dangerous because just like anything else, if you keep piling trash up one on top of each other, it's going to spill over. And then at an unscheduled time. So picturing the analogy, trash compacting, and then all of a sudden you put a fishbowl on top. Well, that did it, you know. So the fried fish turns all over the floor and is everywhere. So now your house smells like fish, and it's 90 degrees out. I just want to paint the picture how when it comes to your emotions, you can keep piling and tucking, piling and tucking, piling and tucking. All it takes is that one thing, putting on top of everything, and then it spill over. And it reeks so bad because you haven't been dealing with it that it oozes all into every other area of your life. So now you're not functioning as an artist. Now you're not functioning as a manager. Now you're not functioning as a business owner. Now you're not functioning as a partner. And you feel crippled. You feel like you're at a disadvantage. But it's only because you didn't do damage control ahead of time. If I don't deal with this, that's what you got to tell yourself. If I don't deal with this, and when you start thinking about it that way, you start reaching on and getting help. And that's why you have professionals like me that are here with a passion to help you. And the blessing and awesome part of having a professional is confidential. You can lean on your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your daughter, whoever it is. But sometimes family bleeds, or not bleeds, but blurs lines. And they share information with the intentions of making people informed, but it only turns into gossip. So with a therapist, a life coach as myself, legally, when you start going to them, your information is held in secure confidence to the point that someone can call up and say, yes, I heard you're such and such life coach. I can't discuss that. But, they told me I can't approve that. Unless I get verbal clearance from them to discuss any matters, I can't talk to you about anything regarding them. And that's the beauty of going to a professional. You don't have to worry about going into another room and that professional is in there with a group of people and everybody in that circle, a group of people, know all your information. No, legally they can't do that. Whereas though you can open up to a friend or family member and they could say it's held in confidence and then they could ooze it out. Trying to make people more informed. And then you walk into a room and everybody know your information. I don't know why I'm going on that tangent, but I'm going on it to stress the importance of being able to sit down and talk with someone and know that your information is secure. Just take a moment and think about it. It's all right. Therapists and life coaches are there to enhance your life, not to make you feel crippled or vulnerable. They're enhancing your life, making you walk in complete wholeness, making you live your life to your full potential. And it's not with the expectation of forever. It just might be minor maintenance you might need on a regular basis. And that's good. Some of the best people in society have therapists and life coaches just to sustain their normality, just to keep them centered. So take time to think about that. So right now I'm going to go over the different feelings, emotions, responses that come out of trauma. And you can identify and say, hey, that's what I'm experiencing from X, Y, and Z. And now when you label it as such, now you know you have to deal with it. Anxiety or fear of danger of a loved one or self is the intensified anxiety or fear of danger of self or loved one. If you're walking around and you're just always on edge, you're suffering. You're suffering because you're not wired to house that feeling of worry and anxiety. You have to manage it. The feeling of avoidance. You're avoiding situations or thoughts. I just don't want to think about that. No, think about it and dive in and deal with it. If you're suffering from avoidance, anybody brings something up around that topic, you drop it or skip over it or talk over them. So you experience the trauma around it and you need to deal with it. Being easily startled by loud noises or sudden movements. Being startled by loud noises or sudden movements. Moving around. I was a case manager at a high school years back. And I was down Southwest Philadelphia, and part of my case management was young males that were fathers or becoming fathers. And those males I managed, basically I was their life coach. I managed their personal life, their school life, and I made them accomplish goals. And one particular student, he was a drug dealer. And him being a drug dealer, he came with certain baggage when he came to school. And if you wasn't accustomed to living in the hood, the neighborhood, down in the urban areas, you wouldn't identify with why he was the way he was. But basically, he was a drug dealer. Almost all his friends got shot or locked up. And it was certain situations that he was in that brought on traumatic feelings of anxiety and fear of self and danger or his loved ones. So I bring this up because loud noises, we're going over the loud noises part. He was failing all his courses in 11th grade. He was failing all the classes. And it was because his teachers had him sitting like